I don't recall any shows. I mean, and whether Watchtower was on the bill or not, but I recall, Death Tripper.
Of course,
And,
yeah.
and Rodney Dunsmore gets the credit for reminding me, because I told him that we were having you on the show today.
Ah.
And he just goes, the singer for Death Tripper was Solitude's first singer. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't even know it. I didn't. I either knew that and completely forgot about it.
Yeah, dude, I know how it is, Jason. I mean,
wow.
Maybe one time you knew that, but I'm trying to make it very quickly here. But his name is Chris Gabehart.
That's right.
Death Tripper was one of the noisiest, craziest bands on the planet. They all sound like they were playing different songs at the same time, and it was just chaos, man. But I thrived on that at that time. So I thought Death Tripper was great because they were just so out of control. I mean, they weren't technically good, but they were noisy, and they were an early version they were like our version of Sodom or something, or, it was just hellish shit, dude. Again, I'll try to make it quick, but I came across the singer for Death Tripper originally at the infamous San Antonio Slayer versus Slayer show in '84. Mm-hmm. And Brad Kane and I had driven down there for that show because we were on the tip. We knew about it somehow, and we drove down for that infamous show. And outside, waiting to get in, there's a guy right behind me, and it turned out to be Chris Gabehart, and he was talking crazy shit. I go, man, this guy's a crazy motherfucker down here, man. I'm like, all right. And then I saw him later in the night getting kicked out for crowd surfing too much at the venue, and I thought, that dude's a crazy fucker. And then I found out later on, within a year, I find out there's a Death Tripper thing, and I go and I buy Death Tripper demos, and like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. I love it. It's like, their first demo was like antimatter, dude. It was like, what the shit? This just ruined my cassette deck, man. But they did technically get better as time went on. But I love their intensity, and I love that they were just fighting against everybody for no good reason. And so as it would come, I would become the No Death Tripper because I bought their tapes at Hog Wild. Then I would organize a few gigs with them coming up here with Rotting Corpse. And then Chris Gabehart tried to get me to join Death Tripper in the later days of Rotting Corpse. He asked me if I'd be interested in joining Death Tripper because he told me that the band was going to move more in a doomy direction, like they were going to incorporate more Sabbath into their sound.
Here we go.
Because that's what he was into. He was really into Sabbath, and as much as he hated Trouble's lyrics, he loved Trouble the band.
Yeah.
And so Chris Gabehart was really into Sabbath heavy shit. So I said, I can't join Death Tripper, dude. I'm about to start a new band. And then Chris Gabehart and I talked, and Chris is a very creative, very intelligent guy. And so him and I formed Solitude with Brad Kane, and Chris would fly up here, and he'd fly up here on weekends, and we'd rehearse.
Wow.
We were committed. He did that for a long time, for a good year. He'd fly up to rehearse. And he's very creative, not the greatest vocalist necessarily in the world, but I was okay with that. I thought as long as he can be creative and carry a melody or a tune, Bob Dylan's a terrible vocalist, but there you go. I mean, it doesn't matter. It matters what you do with your voice. And so I thought
the word terrible may not be the right word, but I know what you mean.
I'm joking, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Terrible by some people's standards.
Sure.
From a technical standpoint, maybe.
Right. Well, and Chris was not a terrible singer. No, he just wasn't. He's not like a Rob Halford kind of guy.
There's just no sugar.
Right. He just carried. He was very creative, so I liked what he was doing, and he helped me create those early songs. And so we had a great relationship. And then Chris eventually just needed to find his way out, and he stayed down in San Antonio and bowed out. And that's when we got a different lineup. I got Robert in at that time, which was of course great, to get Robert because he's outstanding. But those early days were with Chris Gabehart from Death Tripper, dude. Unlikely combination.
I think that that's historic. I wanted to bring that up, and it was if I don't say so myself, it was a great. From what we were talking about prior, slipping into
the
beginning.
After this, just go take a quick check on those early Solitude demos. It's called Justice for All demo, which came up for Metallica. Like 6 months, we called it "And Justice for All." But
weird.
Check this out, and you can see that how he was singing compared to Death Tripper, which was just out of control, insanity. But I love that, and I like working with people on the edge like that a little bit.
Remember this? My camera's not going to pick it up.
It's a white piece of paper.
Yeah, it's
a
not.
Blank ticket. Yeah, I see it.
You have to read it.
There it
it is. Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's a 1992 Solitude Aeturnus ticket for $8. You guys were opening for Paul Di'Anno's Killers.
Is that for the San Antonio show?
Yes.
That was the last show of a 6-week run we did with him. That was the last night of the tour.
Yeah, you told me when I saw you at the record convention one time, I brought this up, and you had some Di'Anno story. I can't remember, but tell me a little bit about touring with Paul Di'Anno.
Well, first of all, I loved Iron Maiden since I got the Killers record in 1980, whatever it was, 81, I think. And I thought Maiden was awesome. You know, I was just like, holy shit. And then I think my first, you guys kind of helped me out on this. I can't remember sometimes now, but Maiden toured with Priest, I believe, on the Killers tour.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, of course, and it, of course, made an insanely huge impression on me. So just imagine, you know, that I'm thinking Iron Maiden is the shit, you know, and I know they replaced their singer, but then like 10 years later, I'm on tour with the singer from Maiden. It was it was one of those earlier pinch me moments where like, wow, man, I'm fucking hanging out with my new best buddy, Paul Di'Anno. He don't know that he's my new best buddy yet, but he is. Yeah. I'll make sure he knows about it. Hey, Paul, what's going on? Yeah, it's John Perez, actually. No, you get the point, dude. I mean, it was just cool fucking touring with Paul Di'Anno, dude. I was like, wow, this is fucking great. We get to fucking tour with Di'Anno. His band was really nice guys. We're still good friends with those guys, with a couple of those guys to this day. We chat with each other online. So it was really cool to tour with Di'Anno. It wasn't lost to me that we were touring with one of our idols, you know, and we got to see him in a for real setting, you know, like this is the real deal. So it was, I wouldn't say eye opening. We weren't that green at that time, but still you learned a lot, and it was just really great to tour with him. He was awesome. He was, he hadn't lost any power by that point. He was singing great. Yeah. Just a great experience with Di'Anno, man. Lots of little mini stories from that tour, but that last night of the tour was funny. We played typical tour pranks on each other, and they fucked with us, we fucked with them. And anyway, at the end of the tour, we decided to drive home, but John Covington, our drummer, jumped off the stage that night and broke his fucking ankle. Oh. And so we drove up from San Antonio to try to get home as quickly as possible for our poor John Covington. Luckily, he's a tough guy. We break down in Buddha. Buddha in 1992 was not Buddha in 2024.
No, there's nothing there. There's no.
There was one thing there eventually, an overnight truck stop thing, which we had to sit overnight and wait for. Our car broke down. I forgot to mention that. Our van broke down on the way. A catalytic converter clogged up, and so we broke down. So poor John's sitting there overnight with a swollen ankle, just broken. Total misery. We didn't get on the road until the next day, like at noon or 1 or something. You know, we just slept in the van and stayed up all night. A glorious way to end a great tour. You know, just a slap in the fucking groin. You know. Yeah, that was great. And then we ruined the van. You know, we rented the van. We didn't tell the dude we were going to go to Canada, Florida, and San Francisco, and everywhere else in between. And we brought the van back. He's like, what the hell? Where do you boys drive to? Like, and the van was broken. He goes, it'll be under warranty because the miles are still there. And it wasn't, because we had gone way over the mileage. He goes, you should be able to fix that under warranty, get it fixed, because it's underneath the mileage cap. And it wasn't. He's like, that's impossible. It's like, no. Yeah, we drove like, you know, I don't know, 13,000 miles or something, man. Whatever it was. Not 13,000, but, you know. Anyway,
a few thousand, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. We literally went to Canada. That was a jumped in the fire on that. We went all over the country on that one. Lots of fun though. I love touring with Di'Anno, of course, man.
Yeah. The thing I remember about this show is I actually interviewed Paul Di'Anno backstage in the green room at the showcase. What passed for the green room back then. But this is before I knew anything about working through a publicist or any of that. I just showed up at the back door at sound check with my tape recorder and hoping to snag him, right?
Yeah.
I snag him and we go into the dressing room, and I'm total fanboy because this is the early stages of me doing this, so I'm, you know, not very professional yet.
Yeah.
So I've got my albums under my arms and I'm, ready to get them all signed and everything. And we sit down on a couch and I start this is back when I smoked cigarettes. So
Yeah.
Paul Di'Anno was fascinated by American cigarettes because I had Marlboros.
Yeah.
And he's like, he said, I'll talk as long as you keep the smokes coming. And I'm like, great. So I just kept feeding him cigarettes and we sat there for probably an hour rolling tape. And then at the end of it, he signed my, self-titled Maiden, my Killers, my Made in Japan vinyl. He signed a couple pictures that I had torn out of some magazines, and all that stuff is framed and hanging around my house still today. But that was at your show.
That's cool, man. That's wow. Small world, dude. I thought I recognized you from the way back days, dude. I must have seen you there. Yeah, yeah.
I looked a lot different in the way back days. My hair was like yours in the way back days. Yeah.
What's it? Oh, like gray and stringy, and
It wasn't gray, but it was parted in the middle and all one length. And
Yeah.
Cousin it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the status on Solitude today? Are you guys are you doing anything?
I just saw
currently, or-
them crush at Hell's Heroes.
That's
Dave.
right. You just
I
did
just
Hell's
saw
Heroes.
them destroy Houston, Texas at the White Oak Amphitheater.
well,
Mind blowing.
that's what we're doing is crushing and destroying. Apparently, from what I've been told,
You heard it here first.
There you go.
Thank you,
I
Jason.
saw it with my own eyes. I was blown away.
Well, thanks, Jason.
Standing on
I'm
the
glad.
side of the stage, going, "What the fuck is happening right now?" Because
Dude, I'm glad I didn't know if you saw us or
no,
not.
it was transcendent. It was transcendent.
Well, that's amazing, dude. Thank you for that, man. I can't lie to you and say that doesn't make me feel great. It makes me feel awesome that Jason, you watched us from the side stage and you thought it was cool.